Okay guys, so we're back here at the Bluff Trail, and I think what we'll do is we'll do the wooded part first and then loop back around to the beach, and then I'll walk back down to the beach all the way to the river. I was going to do that just now, but there's a bunch of Boy Scouts and stuff down there cleaning up trash everywhere. So maybe here after I complete this loop, they'll be gone. I think this is something like, I don't know if it includes the walk down to this area, but I heard it was something like an 8-mile loop. So if that's true, then I should be able to get around the Boy Scouts later. They should be gone. So it'll take me forever to walk 8 miles. And here we have the choice, guys. Right here, we can either go this way and walk up on that hill, or we can go look at the ocean. Like I said, I think we'll do the hill walking first and then loop back around, walk on the beach. I walked a little on the beach just now, and I didn't have my gaiters on, so of course I got sand in my shoes. So when I get back down here, I'll put my gaiters on, and then we can walk out on the beach and see the river. I have loads of pictures from when I was here 10 or 15 years ago, when you could walk out to that Molera Point. And I'm just standing there on the riverbank that's kind of almost works as a lagoon area for the river, because the river kind of widens out before it goes into the ocean, and it's nice clear water, really beautiful blue tones. So I don't know if I can find those pictures or not, but if I can, I'll post a few in this video. So right now we're walking at a good 30% grade here. I don't know if I'm capturing the horizon on the camera or not, but you can kind of see we've gained some elevation, and you can kind of see up there at the Molera Point now, but we'll do a better 360 once we get to the top of all this. Me. Oh, and I'm gonna have to change my battery out here in a second too, because we're down to the last 10%. Oh man, now we're getting into some higher grade here. It's a good morning walk, get your blood pumping. Oh wow, and out here in the distance, you can see the lighthouse. There's like a lighthouse on a giant rock out there. I guess they figured that big old piece of rock ain't going anywhere for quite some time, so they put a lighthouse on it at some point. It's pretty high up too, so even if a storm rolls in, it's probably not going to touch it. Thing looks so high up. Have to have a pretty significant tsunami come through there to take it out. Ooh. We've been having lots of earthquakes in Southern California recently. I've been working out of Bakersfield, California, and on the pass right there between the San Fernando Valley, Bakersfield, that thing was getting something like 300 mini earthquakes there for several weeks, a few weeks ago. And it's actually in my hotel up there, and I felt the room shake. I just thought it was the neighbors horsing around or something, and no, it was the earthquake. So I went outside and moved my car away from the building so my car wouldn't get smooshed by the building if the big one came. But I don't know, that may be the signal to start getting back to the East Coast or something. Oh. All right, here we go, guys. Here is the lay of the land. Got these big cow pastures on the other side of all this wooded area. Whew. And I can sort of see the beach from here, and I can see where the Big Sur River kind of makes its lagoon right there beyond the beach. And it looks like we're climbing up into the clouds here. So let me change the battery out, and then I'll get right back with you guys. I'll see you guys here in a few minutes. All right, guys, so we're back in action now, and still at the same place on the trail here. So let's keep on climbing here. All right, guys, so we are back with a new battery here, And so we're gonna keep climbing up to the top of this guy here. Just had a bunch of hikers pass me, so give them a little bit of room so I'm not disturbing them as I'm talking here. And looks like the sun's still trying to peek through. Starting to see some blue out into the distance here. And our greens are looking a little bit more green than a few minutes ago. So that's a good sign. May have to trade my hat out for a lighter hat here in a second. And as soon as I get to the top of this guy, we'll take the poles back off the trail so you don't hear too much of that. And all right, we're back into the climb. So I'm hoping once I get done with this trail, there'll be time to do the like a small trail that's over there hugging the PCH, but it's kind of pretty as well as I remember. It's like a big meadow full of tall trees and some stream-related trail. But we shall see. Ooh. Let's see what we're looking at here. Still pretty much the same. You noticed all the fog in the mountains over here. It's not letting anybody up on the mountain have a nice view. Hopefully it'll clear up later. I'm wearing like a lightweight, long-sleeved REI base layer. They make a couple. They make one that's like a thin material. Then they make one that's almost getting towards like a thicker weight. Shouldn't say mid layer, but just a thicker weight base layer. And the one I'm wearing is the thinner version. And the breeze is a little bit chilly, but hopefully, as I'm working here, stay fairly warm. I'm wearing some thin Columbia pants also, like hiking pants. And kind of the same story, just a tad bit cold, but nothing to write home about. Okay, so we're getting into some more dense material, so this looks like it may be our last chance to see what's going on here for a while. So I'm gonna shut her off pretty soon, and next thing I see that's somewhat interesting, I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so I think I may be at the top now, but oh no, I see more climbing ahead, but let me see if I can get down past this brush on the left of me, and we can take a look at these mountains here on the left of me, because they are quite striking here. Here's one little break here. You can see out in there. Very nice contrast between kind of the bald mountain on one side and all the trees on its other side. As if the wind or some other forces discouraging their growth on one side. Let's see, looks like I may have a break in the shrubbery up here, so we can get a better view of that. Here we go. Let's see if you can see that stuff, guys. Here's like on the north faces of these mountains, it's rather bleak, just some scrub brush or something. And down in the valleys, you can see where all the trees are growing, and same story throughout the entire region there. All right, well, let me climb up this next mountain and then we'll see what we can see. Okay guys, so we're still climbing this mountain, and the sun finally broke out from the clouds, and I just want to give you guys the next view here, show you how high up we are. As you can see, I'm in a small turnout to just get off the trail, grab some water, and let the other hikers through. And I don't think this particular trail is going to go as high as the mountains up there, but we're sure giving it a run for its money. I think I'm going to have to trade my hat out for a brimmed hat here in a second. The direct sunlight's starting to get hot. All right, let's keep going. got so the sun did come out, so we've traded our beanie hat for this kind of REI brimmed hat here. So we'll keep going up this trail. Okay guys, I see kind of a break in the bush here, so we should be able to get like a nice view of these mountains. The clouds are abating in parts, so should be able to see them nice and clear right in here. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that. Very neat. Look at all the clouds kind of hitting the mountains where we're actually going. And then, of course, a bunch of scrub behind us. Very nice though. I'm gonna hike up into these clouds, it looks like. Okay guys, so we're still trying to find the top of this climb, and it looks like we've entered a more shady section of the trail as we're getting deeper into the woods. It's actually kind of quite welcoming now that the sun is out. And what I like about it is being from Southern California, you don't really have a fall season. You don't really see the leaves change color and big piles of red and brown leaves in people's yards and whatnot. We got a limited amount of that, but it usually doesn't happen directly in the fall. It usually goes over several months, well into the winter time, but it's not like anything like the East Coast, like all the forests in Appalachia. But here, now that we're a bit more north than SoCal, we are starting to see some forest litter from maple trees and whatnot. Oh. Let me check my map and see exactly where we are. So we are, you may be able to, here, let me scroll out a little bit. You may be able to see that. We're about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way on the northbound part of the loop. And we're still climbing. I've been climbing the entire time. So if you do decide to do this trail, there is some climbing involved, but as you climb, you get to see these spectacular views of the mountains. So we will just keep doing that till we see something else interesting. Here we are, guys, at something called the South Boundary Trail. It goes up this way here, but we're going to keep going on this Bluff Trail. It says the area is closed. Looks like on the map it just kind of goes out to the border of Andrew Molera State Park and to whatever's on the other side of that, I guess Big Sur proper or something. So we'll keep going this way. We just went through this shaded section, which was quite nice. And it looks like we may, let me look at the map again here. We may be kind of towards the top of the climb here. Let's see if there's anything else. No, I think that may be about it. It doesn't really have enough altitude markings on the map to say for sure, but it looks like we're up around 800 feet above the sea level. We started at the sea level earlier when we were down there by the beach. So we've done a good 800 feet of climbing, over a mile or two, I'm not sure. So we'll just keep going this way. Here we have our first glimpse at the ocean on this trail. When I passed this boundary trail thing I just passed a little bit ago, this is now called the Ridge Trail. So, nice view of the ocean down there. And now it looks like we're starting to enter a denser forest, and we've got some of these giant trees that just go all the way up to the sky there happening. We've got forest litter that's a nice golden brown, and just a different environment than what we left a few moments ago. I mean, you can see how thick this tree is here. Just gigantic. Not as big as what you see in Sequoia or Yosemite, but still pretty impressive. And they're just all over the place. Here we have one that's like massively thick. I don't know if you can see that guy right in front of us here. I can walk up a little bit further towards it. Don't want to get too close because the poison ivy is just going like crazy. But you can see, I don't know if you can see what my hiking poles look like in front of this tree. But it is just giant. Trying to bend backwards to show you guys. I've got my camera on my backpack, and look at these beautiful leaves. They're just on the ground here. It's definitely a lot cooler up in here with the mostly shade. Very little sunlight popping through. And here you can see where one of these trees has come down. And again, I can put my poles up here as long as they don't fall in the poison ivy. Get kind of an idea how big that one is. It's not as big as some of these others, but you can kind of get the idea. Very beautiful countryside. And with the cooler temperature and the brown and yellow leaves, just feels like fall up here. Feels like Thanksgiving and Halloween and all that is just around the corner. And have to say that we are still climbing. I thought the climbing might have been over back there at that boundary trail, trailhead, but no. And now we are on some flat land here, I'd like to say this is the end of the climbing, but every time I say that, it never is. So it will be interesting once we get closer over to the ocean to see what we can see on that side. Like I said, we're about 800 feet above the ocean right now, but I think we are going to descend down to like 600 feet before we start getting the ocean views. Wow, look at this tree right in front of us here. Just another massive diameter. You could put like 5 people, maybe even more, side by side, and it still doesn't cover the face of that tree. Very cool. And here we are starting to get some sunlight again. And I complain about the poison ivy, but one of the fall colors along this trail actually is the poison ivy. It turns red in the fall time. I don't know if you can see that on the tree or not, but even though it's not a pleasant thing to get into, it does create something of a beautiful color and really adds to the palette out here in this part of the countryside. And here we go, guys. We are climbing again. Just when you think climbing is over, it is not. And they say when you're backpacking, don't backpack your fears. But I say when you are day hiking, it's perfectly fine to pack all your fears. I've got safety kits, Zolio, food. I've got layers, including a rain shell, just because there's a small chance of rain on my Zolio app. So when I picked up my bag after I packed it at camp, I could feel it probably was again in that 12 to 15 pound range. And we are still climbing. It is rather cool, so I'm not carrying that much water. I just brought 1 liter of water with me. But I do have the Sawyer water filter, and there are streams back at the parking lot, so I can fill up if I need to. But back at the parking lot is also my car. And my car has extra water in it. So We'll give the Sawyer a rest. I don't know what your guys' philosophy is on using those Sawyers, but I've got a knock bag, NOC bag that goes with it that just screws on, and I've got something called pack towel. I forgot, it may be PAK or it could be PACK towel, so you can scoop your water up with that. Wow, everything is so far away now. It's a little beach down there. And we still have lots of mist over the ocean. And you can see down in there, the sun's got everything lit up properly. But as I was saying, I've got a pack towel so I can wipe down the water on the outside of the knock bag so it doesn't like accidentally drip into my Nalgene, because my Nalgene has like a giant mouth to it. So when you are squeezing your Sawyer into your water bottle, you're not contaminating your water bottle. Whew. Here we go, guys. More climbing to do. All right, so we'll shut her off for now, and once I get done with more climbing, I'll show you guys some more stuff. Okay guys, so we are descending. So I've got the camera pointed a little bit downwards so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. Looks like going to be walking out into these areas that have the tree copse out there, and we are starting to feel the wind of the ocean. With all the climbing we just did, we are rather high up. Ooh. As you might be able to tell when I point the camera out this way to show you the beach out that way. So we are using the poles just to not fall. This would not be an area you want to fall in. It's quite a ways out from everything. So I can say for this particular trail that the entire northward approach is climbing, so be prepared for that. And the downhill kind of looks like it's a little bit of a grade to it, and it's less maintained than the way up, so just be prepared for that. There's these little bushes and stuff kind of in the middle of the trail that I'm trying to avoid, because at least back in the day I was allergic to poison ivy, but if you check out this particular tree right here, it has the same type of leaves. So the bushes I'm seeing kind of down here on the sides of the trails and whatnot, it may just be the starts of those bigger trees. You may see some like baby trees that turn into those giant monsters we just walked through a little bit ago. And this is a nice kind of open area here, so let me do one more 360 so you can kind of see what we're looking at here. Just dense brush right up in here. Oh, and an approach towards the ocean. Oh. Pretty interesting, just a random tree in the middle of the trail there with some classic poison ivy growing up it. Like I said earlier, I traded out my beanie for this REI hat, brimmed hat, and REI has pretty good hat selection. The one I chose, it didn't have the biggest brim on it, but it kind of had like the best looking one, like it wasn't floppy looking, nor was it like super rigid to where you couldn't put it in your pack. So this one I just fold it in half and kind of stick it on the top of my pack over my fleece mid layer, and it still looks nice when you unfold it and take it back out of the pack. Some of those that REI had, it looked like they were more just for, you know, keeping on your head all day. Like if you're out in some safari or something. But I like to just have a few hat selections. At nighttime around here, it did kind of get a little cold. It was probably in the 50s. And at that point, you don't want this more lightweight brimmed hat. You want the beanie hat. All right. We are making our way downwards, and we're kind of at the border of Andrew Molera. And if you can see out this way, there's more cliffs and whatnot. And even down in this area, someone's got a nice private residence, it looks like, right there on the side of the cliff. Oh, there's even, I was going to say, there's even a boat out there. I think it's just a rock in the middle of the ocean. Me particularly, I would not want to have a house up here, even though it's several hundred feet up above the ocean, because you know at some point we're going to have that big one, the massive earthquake, and who knows what type of tsunamis that's going to cause. Who knows if where I'm standing right now could be temporarily filled with ocean water during a giant tsunami. All right, a little bit of flatness here. I think we can take the poles away here for a second. And the trail is starting to widen out, so you don't have to be as concerned with poison ivy. I do like the contrast here with the brush and these pine trees. What are those? Are they cedar? Or are they not cedar, but can't think of the name of it right now. Sycamore, maybe. Some type of evergreen tree. And this thing is kind of gated off here with a piece of wire, but it looks like there's an area that you could go out there and stare off the side of the cliff there if you want. The clouds are opening up, and you can see up there at the very top of that mountain, you can see it's above the tree line up there, so I'm not sure how high up that is. Could be like several thousand feet, I'm assuming, maybe in the 3,000 foot range. I was looking at all those mountains earlier as I was climbing up on the other side of them. I was wondering, is there a way to climb that without a trail? Hello. And now that the clouds have opened up a bit more, you can kind of see out there the ocean is rather blue, and it's a nice contrast against all the greenery of the countryside. And give you guys the 360 here. So up in there, just the trail we came through, and ocean. It's a little cooler on this side. Still see like fog coming up into the mountains. All right, guys, once I get a little bit further down, I'll show you guys some more. At this point on the trail, looks like we're just going through a corn maze or something. We've just got like super high density brush on both sides of us here. Every once in a while, you do get to see a little bit of the ocean out there. But it looks like we've hit a low point, and now we may start climbing again. Here's a point on the trail where we can kind of see out. There's a jagged rock out in the ocean. There's a little point that comes off the land, and we see the mountainside here. And as we point the camera down, we are coming around the corner and heading back towards the parking area and everything. We're still on the far side of the park, so we'll just keep heading that direction. And it looks like the clouds have cleared, so you can see up in the foreground there the peak of that mountain there that's kind of above the tree line. Pretty neat looking. It's kind of the biggest peak in the area. And we are still descending down towards the beach. And on this windy path that kind of winds through all these bushes here, we are starting to be able to see how blue the water is down in there. Maybe not up this way, it still looks gray up that way, but when you look down here towards the park, you can see the blueness of the water. Really beautiful. As I said before, very nice contrast against the rest of the park. Just something you don't see every day. You see the blue waters, you know, around the Caribbean, around Florida and stuff. But on the West Coast, especially down in LA, it's all just kind of murky looking water. And you can see the mountains up this way. We've lost the large mountain that had the alpine peak to it, but I can see the trail just keeps going down, 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 and down in this area the trail looks like it gets pretty close to the ocean, though you're still kind of on a cliff that overlooks it. So we're still descending down this trail, and you can see in the distance there's a little cove on the beach. I see some people actually down there, so they've probably like walked up the beach to get to that, I'm assuming, unless there's like a cutoff on the trail right here that goes down that way. But it's pretty long walk along the beach if you are going that way, and it looks to me like you may get stuck there if you're at high tide out there. This trail, it looks like it keeps on winding out this way, and then it's going to come across here, and I see in the distance there's a bit of a climb up the next hill here, and so we'll just keep doing that. If I see any better pictures, I'll let you guys know. And here's a fairly neat section. Ooh. Sorry, like a bee or something. Got stung by bees last week, so now I'm like paranoid of them. So here's a pretty neat section of trail here. We're kind of going away from the ocean, and we're doing like a loop inwards and coming around on the other side. And I'm just skirting this ravine here, or canyon, or whatever it is. And if I point the camera down, you can kind of see the trail is fairly thin on this descent, and you have to be a lot more mindful of the poison ivy alongside the trail, because you're like right up against it. It's a well-maintained trail, but at the same time, I don't know how often they come through here, but as you can see, we're just down in this thin area that's characteristic of the downhill on this trail. Oh. And another characteristic is you can see all this gravel down in here. So definitely something to bring poles with. I kind of jogged down sections of it that weren't gravelly. But I would definitely bring some poles. It does help you a little bit on the uphill, but downhill it was a bit more sketchy as far as trail conditions go. And look at this, guys. We're like going down into this shaded area of the trail here. It's actually kind of wet and dark down in here. So one could imagine that this is some type of waterway when it rains. Not something you'd want to be down in during a large rain. We've also got, you can see that or not, I don't know if I'm pointing it in the right direction, but you can see there's some thistle alongside the trail, so just be careful when you're rubbing up against that. And again, as you can see, it's just this thin section of trail. It's just single profile. And looks like we're at a junction of the spring trail. Probably get you down there into that cove we were looking at a minute ago. But you can see up this way, very nice countryside, very green. Some type of weird thing there, I'm not sure what that is. And the way we are going is this way. And now the trail has given way to this sandy section that's kind of sloped on the sides here. And now we're able to see more of the beach here. Very sandy trail right in here. And we're about halfway back to where we need to be. Like we have a little bit of a erosion happening down in this area here. We're about 2/3 of the way back to the or from the northern edge of the park back to the parking lot. And this area of the trail, it's fairly repetitive. You do get to see nice views of the ocean, which is nice, especially when you're up on the hill. But I don't know, I think it would probably be better to hike this trail the way I hiked it, going clockwise, where you get to see that contrast between the more forested area and the beach, as opposed to doing it counterclockwise where you're kind of seeing the beach down here low, but as you ascend, you're just ascending facing away from the beach where you have like the best views, so you would constantly have to be turning around to see like the best stuff. Also, the trail is a bit sketchy coming down off the highest point, so I'd rather be going down that than up that. The ascent was, I don't know, between 30 and 45 degrees for the most part, and it was on a nice flat piece of land, as you guys saw, or flat piece of trail that was wide and nicely maintained. So that made the ascent a lot easier. So definitely go that way. And as we saw earlier in the video, down here in this section, or not this section, but like the ocean section on the northern edge of the park, there's like lots of opportunities to brush up against poison ivy because the trail is so thin. And so I don't know, it's probably better to do that as you're descending rather than working to ascend, where once you start working you're not as concerned about poison ivy and things like that. Overall, as far as trail characteristics go, I'd say this one gets like a close to 10, because you are getting the beach setting and you're also getting that forest setting at the very top, which is pretty awesome. You get to see a variety of things. You get to see those giant mountains on the eastern part of the PCH, and get to see how the mountains interact with the clouds, at least in September. And down here you get to see like the blue water, some beach settings, and how the blue water interacts with the rest of the park as far as color palette goes. As far as ease of the trail goes, I'd say this is probably a moderate hike. You are ascending the entire time when you're going northward, so just be prepared for that. If you're a beginner hiker, then maybe you just want to do this lower section of the trail. Maybe you don't want to do the ascending parts. But if you are in decent shape, can jog a mile without stopping, or do the treadmill, or exercise bike, or elliptical for 20 or 30 minutes without stopping, then you're good to go on this trail. Like I said, the conditions on the descent going clockwise were a tiny bit sketchy. Wasn't anything near as bad as some of the trails I've been on, like out at Santa Anita Canyon, where there's some parts where you could fall off the side of the trail if you weren't paying attention. So as far as the technical side of the trail goes. It's probably like a 4 out of 10 as far as hardness goes, I guess. You just have to be careful where you're stepping going down that. Like I said, I did jog down part of it, so not too bad. And there's no sections like Devil's Backbone or anything like that where you're actually in danger of falling or anything like that. So. And I don't know if you can have a separate category for just the overall beauty versus the characteristics of the trail, but as far as beauty goes, it's a 10 out of 10. There's a certain uniqueness to this area of the countryside. It's got all this kind of scrub brush and grassland that's good for the cattle. And you see the ranches in front of me here, contrasting with the more coniferous forests up in the mountains. Well, you can't see it here because you got a big hill in front of us, but mountains in the distance there. Once you get high enough up on them, you get all those nice conifer trees and whatnot. And really beautiful out in these sections here where you can see these rocks jutting up proudly from the ocean, and as the water comes in and breaks around them, you see that nice white water washing up around them, giving just one more area of color, or one more element of color to the palette out that way. Like I said, I really enjoyed the fall colors on the way up the trail, especially now that it is actually getting to the fall season, and I'm kind of missing the fall colors from the East Coast. So that was nice to see. Nice bit of nostalgia there. As far as how crowded the trail is, I probably saw maybe between 6 and 12 couples and one single hiker that was taking pictures. And so it wasn't very crowded. You can see on the video there's hardly anybody around. If I caught anybody, well, maybe I did at the beginning. And a bonus to whoever made this section of trail right here, it's nice and wide, and you're just walking on grass that's been matted down. So it's a very nice walk back to the main section of the park after doing all that work. I'm not sure. I think it may be around 8 miles or so, but I don't know. Sometimes you see the mileage online, and it's really dependent on where they think the trailhead starts. Like, is the 8 miles from the parking lot, or is the 8 miles from the actual trailhead marker? So after whatever the distance is, after all this work, it's very nice just to be in this calm, semi-breezy grassland area. Hear a few gulls out there. As far as the drive, I drove from SoCal. If you're trying to drive north up the PCH, it's closed right now, and that's a common occurrence. So I don't know if you're not from California and you're thinking you can drive up the PCH, or maybe you saw some YouTube videos or something. As far as my experience goes, it seems like always parts of the PCH are closed around Big Sur. They're always doing some type of road construction or replacement of parts of the road that get washed out or get eroded, or like a rock slide takes out an area, whatnot. So you are going to have to get to this particular trail or this particular park. You are going to have to not go up the PCH, but go up the 101 into Monterey and Carmel by the Sea, and then descend southward down into the park. So it is a nice drive going through the PCH. I've done it before a couple times, but it is super windy. So if you don't like windy roads, or if your passengers get car sick fairly easily, you may just want to do it the way I just said, going through the 101 and then descending down into the park, because those turns are windy. You've got local people that are mad at you because you're not going as fast as they can go on the roads, just because they're so used to them. So there is that. So as far as getting here from SoCal, yeah, it's a little bit of a pain. Let's see what we can see out this way, guys. Oh wow. Pretty neat. And as you can see, all the clouds have cleared up on the mountains here, except for over here. And let's see where we're at on the map here. So if we go rightwards, it's about 1/10 of a mile back to the trailhead. So I think that's the way we want to go. So here we are, guys, back at the Bluff Trail, which we ascended up this way. And as we looped around, we came up this way. So that is the hike, guys. So we shall see you on the next one. Take care. Have a good day.